If we can't deliver that brand promise, then we don't want to bring on that customer. If this CEO hadn't figured that out, then this CEO shouldn't be the CEO.
Imagine you're the CEO of Keap, a SaaS company dedicated to providing automated marketing solutions to small businesses.
Everybody's excited because people are coming through faster, and it feels really good when you're able to get your product to more customers. We were always working to go down market, and frankly, that's a very unnatural act in SaaS. It's almost impossible. It might be a part of my nightmares at night.
At what point did you realize that there might be unintended consequences? And what did you start to notice, and what did the team start to notice?
It wasn't an issue of smaller teams, it was an issue of solopreneurs. And that passion to serve that early stage solopreneur, it ran counter with that sales orientation to just sell more. And so the more customers you have, now the more customers do you have to acquire just to replace the ones you lost. This is the hard stuff of leadership.
What do you start to do at that point?
What we decided was,
welcome to TOPCEO. I'm interviewing Clate Mask, CEO and co-founder of Keap. And Clate, take me through back to a little bit in past history where, you're a successful marketing automation company. You've got a software product, and most people who do that want to grow. And the way that you grow is you remove friction points, you deliver more value, you open up new markets. So at the time, you think, that's a great idea. Let's remove friction. Let's open up markets. Let's grow. Take us through that kind of decision-making first, as what you were pursuing, and then maybe some unintended consequences.
Yeah, totally. Great to be with you, Ben. So we wanted to open up the market and get to more small businesses. And as you know, about 90% of small businesses are solopreneurs. And so our product, which is a marketing automation solution for serious businesses, we wanted to be able to get that to solopreneurs. We wanted to take friction out of the process. So at the time, we required customers to buy an implementation package to get started with us. And that was where we stood at the time, where we had a market opportunity that we felt like could be opened up with less friction in the sales process, and an opportunity to bring on more small businesses that are smaller, kind of a solopreneur.
Okay, and just with this kind of implementation package, what that essentially means for a person is there's an upfront cost to get set up because marketing automation systems are complex. There's a lot of setup involved, and that does do a couple things. It puts a bit of friction in the process because it's like, I can't just start on a monthly payment. I've got to do that, and it puts some other things you have to do up front too for implementation. You got to have some meetings. You got to have some other things to sort of get going. So you're like, okay, let's get to more people. Let's remove this hurdle. Sounds good. Let's democratize a little bit this for solopreneurs. Sounds like a good thing. And what did you sort of see when you first did this? And in many ways, it sounds like a no-brainer. Let's just open up the market. If we're not going up market to mid-size or enterprise, let's kind of go down market and open up to more customers.
Yep, exactly. What we saw was we took away that required implementation package, and we created a package, a light package for smaller businesses, and we brought in more customers, and the sales cycle sped up. The number of days in the sales cycle.
So things are good. The sales team's happy at this point.
Yeah, one call closes. Everybody's excited because people are coming through faster, and and everybody's excited about more recurring revenue that's coming in.
So it did what you wanted it to do, which is
yes,
initially. Right?
Yes,
okay,
that's right. And it definitely took friction out of the process, and it brought in more customers and more of these more smaller businesses, more solopreneurs.
Okay, great. So you're like check. All goals are going well, and what was the kind of feeling in the company at this point? I mean, sales is probably thrilled. Was everyone thrilled, or was it also like, we're bringing a lot more customers, there's more overhead, there's more customer service, there's more support? What was the feeling, or was everyone kind of like on board, on the ship that is moving forward as you hoped?
Yeah, people were excited, not just the obvious reasons of more sales. probably the more powerful thing that was creating excitement was you used the word democratization of our automation software for small businesses. So it feels really good when you're able to get your product to more customers. And in particular, when you're serving small businesses, there's a lot of, and especially in our company, there's a lot of passion around serving that underserved solopreneur that needs our solution.
Kind of like the underdog that could be the next Airbnb, but he's like she is working from their garage now. And if we could help them and maybe they are the next great success story and we could play a role in that.
Yes. And there's a lot in our company. There's a lot of pride and enthusiasm about serving small businesses. And so the fact that we're able to serve more, and frankly, the strugglers, these are strugglers. They're a lot of them are in their first year of business and they're solopreneurs. And so there's a bleeding heart component of you just want to serve these people and they need help. And so it was exciting to be able to get your product to more of these customers. So it wasn't just a sales enthusiasm. It was across customer success and product, and indeed across the company, that we're getting our product to more customers with less friction.
Which aligns with, it sounds like, I don't know your company values or mission and purpose, but it sounds like it's aligned with that.
Yes.
If part of this is to empower more entrepreneurs and small businesses to realize their business goals and realize their entrepreneurial dreams.
Exactly.
This sounds good.
Yes.
From that lens. And so all of those kind of metrics are going well, going up. At what point did you realize, how far were you in after you sort of made this decision that there might be unintended consequences or some other impact that might be the flip side of the coin, or whatever? There's a silver lining of the cloud. I don't know what the opposite of that is. The dark wrapper around it. When did you start seeing that, and what did you start to notice, and what did the team start to notice?
I would say, first of all, the whole risk was, well, will these customers be successful with the product? And so we knew that churn was likely to go up some.
And because why? These are smaller teams. Marketing automation takes some focus. There might be solopreneurs. Is it why would you expect?
It wasn't about smaller teams. It was about solopreneurs. Small teams do great with our software. When it's one person and they're trying to implement marketing automation and they've never thought through their sales process very well, they don't have a customer journey that is followed, they don't have a strategy for how they bring customers into their business. And that's a lot of work to help that solopreneur actually put all of that together. And so it wasn't an issue of smaller teams, it was an issue of solopreneurs. And the question was, how would solopreneurs do putting marketing automation in place? And we knew it was a risk. And that's what we started to see. We started to see the struggle that solopreneurs have in putting automation software in place, not because of the automation software, but because of the immaturity of their business processes, the things they don't know yet. There's just so much that you learn in the first couple of years of business. And when you're first getting started, you don't know. A lot of times you don't even have your products yet. You don't have, not only do you not have a process, but you might not even know for sure what your product or service is. You're still trying to get some kind of product market fit going. And if you are a solopreneur where you're wearing all kinds of different hats, it takes a while before you're able to get clear on who your customers are, what you serve them, how you do it, and how automation can help you in that process.
And by definition, if I use the word automation, in this case, we're talking about marketing automation. Automation is usually very helpful in any type of business. I mean, from the industrial age, right? When you have like a process that is kind of defined, and you have to do it manually, the opposite of automation. You bring in automation and it can speed up whatever you're doing, whether that's, delivering marketing emails or making Model T cars, whatever it is. But you usually have a defined process first. But now you're going down market. There might be companies at various stages of figuring out not only their process manually, but like the business they're in, the product market fit, what their ideal customer is. And so there's, suddenly a lot more variables. So how did you, what did you start to see when you started to get more concerned about this? I mean, was it purely like churn numbers and you get a report? I don't know what you get, Clate, as CEO. Do you just get like a report each month and you see it, or each week, or how are you set up? Like, do you have people who track this and they knock on your door and say, hey, we got to talk? Like, what is your mechanism for recognizing it's a problem? Or do you get like customer service anecdotes from the team and you get stories? And how did you start to become aware of on your CEO plate?
Yeah, I mean, you get churn data, but that's lagging. What we started to see was indicators of usage and customer commitment. So those indicators can be as simple as not showing up on a call with your implementation coach. It can be more telling, like not logging into the software. It can be more telling, like not sending out any emails, So, and when you get right down to it, what we learned was these new businesses, they struggle because they don't know what to say in their emails. And we can serve them up templates, we can serve them up pre-built automations, but if they're asking themselves, who am I talking to in my audience and what am I saying? And I don't even have a list yet. I mean, you can see why marketing automation is a challenge for a brand new business that hasn't figured out some of those questions, let alone create an actual process. Because we work with a lot of customers who don't have their processes worked out, and that's fine. We can work with them. But when they haven't even answered basic questions about who is my customer and what am I selling and what's my message to them and what's my compelling, what's my value proposition and compelling reason to buy, and you've got to actually coach a brand new business through that, well, that's where you start to get indicators of, okay, this is taking way too much time on our part, and the customer's not able or willing to bring the commitment in their part of it. This is a problem.
Sure. Well, and actually, I want to mention one thing that you mentioned there and passing that I think is important for anyone who looks at data. You actually talked about lagging indicators, and then you actually referenced a number of leading indicators. And lagging, and I always describe it as like, the leading indicators, those things that kind of give you the clues, is like, if we were going to drive from, I don't know, like, Austin to Houston, we'd like see, we want to get to Houston. We'd know if we got there successfully, but we might see some road signs on the way. Did we make the right turn? Did we do, we stopped for a rest stop? Did we get back on the right highway? We can see some indicators. So in your scenario, you're starting to see things. I mean, the problem is that people are missing meetings. They're not sending out emails. They're not doing these things. They're probably not getting a good result from the marketing automation software because they haven't done enough to get a good result. Then that lagging indicator, do they get to Houston or not? They're probably not going to get to Houston. If they're not going to get to Houston, they're probably going to cancel.
Yeah. You see the leading indicators are customer behaviors, and those customer behaviors can be in the product. They can be outside of the product, in interactions with teams. And it starts anecdotally, but then you start to put together patterns and you start to see, sets of data that begin to, either confirm or call into question the direction that you're taking. Okay,
so you're starting to see these, and how many months in are you to the process where it starts to be like more of a concern? Like you make the change, how long does time goes by?
Within a couple months, you start to get some concern. Within 4 or 5 months, the data starts to corroborate those concerns. And so, within 6 months, you've got a pretty good sense of, okay, despite the increase in sales and the increase in morale and enthusiasm, excitement about democratizing automation for small businesses, there's something awry here that needs to be addressed.
Okay, so 6 months in, you realize this needs to be addressed. It needs your attention. And what do you start to do at that point to, like, are you at that point considering I need to reverse this decision like right away? Are you thinking we just need, I don't know, a different way to screen customers. Maybe it's not with the service package, as the hurdle. It's something else to like help people. Do you think we need more better training? We need more videos or other stuff just to get people or help them. What do you start as you start looking for a solution? What do you do at that point?
You go through all of those things. You look at, what do we need to do in the product? What do we need to do in our training process, our onboarding process? What do we need to do in customer selection and filtering? And, you go through all of those things. And that's why it's not quick to change a decision, because if you just change the decision, then you wouldn't innovate. You wouldn't actually improve. And, you have to go through a process of improvement and innovation. And that's the reason why it's tricky to go through a decision like this, because it's not like there's just a perfect answer here where you say, oh, let's just go back and do exactly what we were doing before. That's the easy answer a lot of times, but it's not the answer that's going to make the business better. It's not going to be better for customers. It's not going to create future growth potential. We made that, let's remember, we made that decision for a reason. We wanted to open up the market more. We wanted to be able to get our product into more customers' hands. And so, you have to look at all of the ramifications of that decision and then figure out, well, where can we improve and get better that might either cause us to be more effective if we reverse the decision 180, or more effective in changing course, not in 180, but adjusting the decision in a less extreme way, or in a more creative way.
Okay, so basically, are you going to do at this point like a little bit of a tweak? We just need an adjustment. We just need to like shore up something here, just maybe alter things a little bit, or do you actually need to go back on the entire decision? And why? Just so that the audience understands too, and I know we've talked about this some in the past, but why could you live with the churn? Could you say, hey, sales are up, you knew there was going to be some churn based on this? Could you just say like, it's okay, we can live with it, or let's reduce it a bit, it's going to be up, or could you not? What did it mean for the business to have that higher churn rate?
I think that's maybe the most important question, because the answer depends on really where you are in the scale of your business. You can live with churn when the business is smaller. You get to a certain scale, and you have to have the churn in a better place. Otherwise, you can't outrun it. So let me just do some simple math for people to help them see what I'm talking about. If you've got 100 customers and you have 3% monthly churn, that means you got to find 3 new customers the next month just to make up what you lost. No big deal. We can do that, no problem. And let's say your customer acquisition cost is $1,000. So we're going to invest $3,000, find 3 new customers to make up for those 3 that we lost. And if we're at that stage of our business, that's no big deal, because we're probably looking for 10, 20, 30 customers next month. No problem. 3 is not that big a deal. Now, let's say you're at 1,000 customers. Well, now you got to find 30 customers, and you got to have $30,000 in sales and marketing investment to acquire those customers at a $1,000 CAC. Again, probably not that big a deal, because you're probably growing at that point by maybe 50, 75, 100 customers a month. 30 customers just to break even is not that big a deal. You probably got investors and capital behind you, so you can go invest that customer acquisition cost on those 30 customers. Well, let's take it to 10,000 customers. Well, now you got to find 300 customers. Starts to get a little trickier. You get to 100,000 customers, and now you're talking about 3,000 customers to find next month to make up for the customers you're losing this month. And that 100,000 customers also requires $1 million of sales and marketing investment to get those 100,000, to get those customers. It takes 1,000 if you 1,000 customers and 3,000, or $1,000 per customer and 3,000 customers. You got to have $3 million. $3
million, yeah.
So you start to see how when people say you can't outrun the churn at scale, that's what we're talking about. you get to a scale. So if Keap were a small business that had 100 customers, 1,000 customers, 10,000 customers, it's not as big a deal.
How many customers does Keap have now?
We've got about 25,000 businesses. And so the more customers you have, now the more customers that you have to acquire just to replace the ones you lost. So what happens for SaaS companies in their decision making, the right decision, it depends on your scale, because when you're smaller, you can do lots of different things. Your experiments are, you can kind of work your way through those in a much quicker, more fluid way. The more scale you have, the more you've got to bring down the churn. Otherwise, you're spending a lot of your investment just to try to break even on the customers that you're losing.
Well, and it's a reason. This is like a very practical reason why it's relatively rare for CEOs to be really good from founding really small all the way up through like a mega enterprise company, essentially like Mark Zuckerberg's story.
Right.
Because it's not only is it a different skill set that, that when you at different sizes, you just need different skills or different things. That's true. But also in your mathematical example, it's interesting because like the very decision that you made early on, maybe you had that problem early on. You're like, you know what? I solved it by just turning up the volume, Spinal Tap level 11 on sales. And I just outran it. And you're like, I did that before. Now we're bigger. Now we're at Keap size. I'm just going to do it again. So that literally the decision you made 3 years ago that turned out well, you now, maybe the right decision, if you're a CEO, is to make the opposite decision of what you did. And that's why it's so difficult to be, a top CEO at every stage. And it's rare that people can do it well in so many different phases of the business.
Right. That is spot on and might be a part of my nightmares at night.
Okay.
because you're exactly right. For a season, we just sold more. That's just the way we did it. But you get to a point where you can't do that. You have to deliver the right value for the right customer. And I think, if I just to be really, really transparent and vulnerable here, what happened for us was we always wanted to be a ubiquitous automation solution for small businesses, and that passion to serve that early stage solopreneur drove us, and it ran counter with that sales orientation to just sell more. It just doesn't work. And so, what most software companies do is they move upstream. They move up market. They move up market to bigger and bigger customers. And that was never part of our orientation. We were always working to go down market. And frankly, that's a very unnatural act in SaaS. It's almost impossible. And I think we worked at it and worked at it and worked at it and worked at it. And ultimately, that's why it was hard to make the decision we made, because what we decided was, as much as we love that customer and would love to serve that solopreneur, our product just is not for them. And that's a hard thing to come to say, you know what, our product's not for that customer. But that's the truth. And it's this CEO had to let go of that desire and that ambition to serve that customer. And frankly, if this CEO hadn't figured that out, then this CEO shouldn't be the CEO. Okay. Because you have to make an adjustment. And we weren't making that adjustment for a while, and it caused problems, and it caused us to stagnate because we were trying to make our product a solution for a customer that frankly doesn't have the problem that we solve.
And so to take us through, you got about a year after the initial decision to kind of remove some of those implementation packages or the upfront costs. And the writing was on the wall. You had to maybe undo some things that were kind of ambitions that you had, or think about the problem differently. And so at that point, did you do the 180, or did you do the more tweaks, or did you do the 180, meaning undo the decision with a twist and try to maybe go back, but do it better than before?
Yeah, it's a 180 with a twist. But it all starts with, let me tell you what we've done. and what's playing out now. Well, we can get to what's playing out, but here was the decision. The decision was, no, our customers need to put some skin in the game with some services. We basically said we're coming at this from a customer success brand promise delivery standpoint. And we don't want to bring on customers that we can't deliver our brand promise for. And our brand promise is grow sales and save time with automation from Keap. So if we can't deliver that brand promise, then we don't want to bring on that customer. And when I said, and so the real thing, so what we said was, well, to deliver the brand promise, we need to bring some services to the mix. And the twist was that we began to focus more on customers who make an annual commitment versus month to month. And so whereas we had services before, it was still very much month to month. So we changed things a little bit, adjusted the package, but we lead now with annual commitment, and we're really converting the company to be an annual commitment company. And what that does is it weeds out the businesses that aren't serious yet, that don't have the problem that we solve. And that's the real thing that we had to get to. And this is why it's not just a decision you make to change your delivery of your product and service. It's really a concerted and aligned effort and agreement around the company that says, let's get really clear on who we serve and who wins with Keap and who we don't serve. And as much as we would like to and want to and try to, it's too much of an unnatural act to take a piece of automation software like Keap and try to take it to a customer who's perfectly capable of keeping everything straight in their Outlook and spreadsheets.
Well, and was everyone on board with this decision? Where there's some people who are like, no, like what are you have your top lieutenants in each kind of division. You got sales, you got marketing, you got product, you got customer success. Maybe you have engineering. Yeah. What did you have to do? Did you get to a consensus? Did you just have to make the decision regardless of a consensus and say, buck stops here, I got to make a tough decision? What was the feeling in the company at that point?
Yeah, it's a great question. The reason I respond with, so emphatically is that this is the hard stuff of leadership. I mean, if we could all go look at a perfect data set that shows beautifully exactly what we should do, that's easy. But the reality is that's not life in SaaS. You're trying to make the best decision you can based on the data. But more importantly, you have people's emotions, you've got people's jobs and their careers and their passion. We had a lot of people whose passion was to help that struggling business owner, that struggling small business that doesn't have things figured out at all yet. And I got a lot of that passion. I want to help them too. So no, we had people who left the company as we made this decision because they're like, no, that's not what I want to do. I want to go democratize automation for all small businesses. That's why I wake up in the morning and get excited about what I do every day. And what I'm saying is, well, what we need to do is be excited about creating amazing automation for serious businesses that want to grow sales and save time. And if they're not to the point where they've got enough success going that they're kind of scrambling to keep it all together, then they're not our customer. If their issue is, they're trying to make a decision about their first product, that's just not a customer that we're going to win with. As much as we'd love to help them, and as much as if you're an engineer and you want to convince yourself that the solution that we have is going to help them make the decision about their product, that's a product for a different company than Keap. So you're going to need to go to that company.
Well, and what did because I'm putting myself in the mind of your VP of sales, whoever he or she may be. Are they like, well, our numbers are up, we're driving sales?
Yeah,
do you have to talk them down? Come over here, let's have a talk. And they're gonna say, but you're gonna judge me based on my numbers, and all my numbers are gonna be down. And do you have to reassure them? Like, what happens to the sales? Because they're like, we've been killing it, we've been bringing in people, and you're like, yeah,
so
but we gotta slow that down.
There's a rush, there's an energy, there's an excitement to it, and now all of a sudden, we can only bring them in if this and if that, and they need to commit this, and boy, the velocity has slowed down. It's not as fun. And yeah, that's not just one conversation I've had with my VP of sales. We've had many conversations. And to her credit, she recognizes that what matters is our customers' success. And that's the key thing that everybody has to align to. When you get right down to it, you asked it, how do you do it? Well, everybody has to come down to the fact that we exist to make our customers successful, not to make a sale, not to feel good about a feature that we've created that we think is going to democratize automation for these small businesses. We exist to make our customers successful, meaning that they're growing sales, they're saving time with our automation. And so that's what you've got to get everybody aligned to. Our brand promise was probably the most significant thing, the significant lever that we use to help people, to pull on that and help people understand this is why we do what we do. And that's hard because, like I said, you have people who, when you really press on it, you realize, oh, that's not why you're here. You're here for a different reason. And then you have to have hard conversations with people about, well, do you want to be here with this new direction we're going, or do you not want to be here? And some people chose not to be here.
And did you do a formal exercise to like a branding project and realign your values and do that formally? Or was it more that didn't really need to happen and it was just a realignment of like just what you're focused on in your monthly numbers and everything else? Or did you like actually try to rewrite the mission statement or things like that?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Ours was more nuanced. So we didn't have to rewrite our purpose and our values and our mission. We have a long-term mission to 2030. And so the entrenched purpose to liberate and empower entrepreneurs, to strengthen families, communities, and economies, that didn't change. Our long-term mission to simplify growth for 1 million small businesses worldwide by 2030, that didn't change. Now, how we'll do that's a little bit different. And our 7 values, that didn't change. But our strategy plan for 3 years, that changed. And that's where people became a little bit undone and said, well, wait, hold on. I'm not sure that aligns with the work I want to do. And so we had pretty significant change in our product org in particular, because they were, many of those people were on a different path to create something free and light and ubiquitous for millions. And, that's a noble purpose. It's a noble desire. It's not the reality of what small businesses who need automation are actually looking for right now in our product. Could that be the case in 3, 5, 10 years? Sure. But we've got a 3-year plan that needs to connect up to that. And some people didn't want to be on board for that 3 years.
Well, and I think one of the challenges of being a CEO and one particularly at the scale Keap is at, is that, there may be a lot of things you want to do, but that doesn't mean you can do everything right now. There may be a sequence to things. There may be a thing that like we aspire to do this, but we've got to accomplish these things first to sort of like earn the ability to do it. And like anything else, if a good idea with even good execution timed wrong actually may not work. And so you're constantly juggling, a long time horizon, a medium time horizon, and a short time horizon. And things may be good in one horizon and terrible in another time horizon.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to illuminate the point I was making about our purpose, values, and mission are intact because those are long-term. We're not changing. Do I believe that our automation solution will get better and better and be more applicable to more and more small businesses over time? Of course. But I also know what we need to do over the next 3 years to connect up to that long-term vision. And so most of our people got that and they were aligned with that. But there's some who said, well, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to work on these projects I really care about right now. Oh, sorry, we're not taking freemium to the world in an aggressive way right now, because that doesn't match up with what we need to do in order to get ourselves to where we want to be. And so those are the kinds of rubber meets the road decisions that individuals have to make when you make a strategic decision like the one we did. Because, as we've unpacked here now, it's not just as simple as, well, let's just put services back in play, or let's just, no, there's a bigger strategic question about the market that we serve and the customers who are successful with us, and our commitment to that customer success and the delivery of our brand promise, and an uncomfortable realization that we came to and that we needed to just call out, which is, oh, well, for these brand new small businesses, they're not ready for our software.
Well, and other big milestones, and we'll get to the present day and kind of where you're headed now in just one second. But in terms of other big milestones in the company's history, and we can go all the way back to kind of the founding story, but previously the company's called Keap now. It used to be called Infusionsoft, and you had a following and a loyal customer base from that. That was a big decision, probably to change that name. And I don't know if what was the key thinking there. Were there so maybe what were the other big milestones in the company from how you founded on? Were there this was a big moment? What were the other big moments that defined the trajectory of Keap, formerly Infusionsoft?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's probably another podcast, another episode. But I would say, obviously there was an appetite to go down market from where we were with Infusionsoft, and that it's a similar conversation to what we just talked about with the services. But and so we brought in a lot of leaders, different people, and there was a strong push for that. And I had kind of took a back seat for a period of time, and it took me a while to realize that wasn't a good approach. We needed to not do that. So we changed our product approach, but we were still kind of pointed downstream, as evidenced by this whole conversation we had. So that's really kind of a meta theme of different decisions we've had to make over time. And it was why I mentioned the point about, nightmares and this CEO and what I needed to learn, because
you were headed, it wasn't just that you had made a decision a year prior to remove some friction points. Your trajectory, even the fact that you had, sounds like, changed your name, was your desire to head more downstream. It was something down that market, was in other, or down market. It was down market, I should say. It was other decisions that leading up to that you had to kind of like go against that tide, which was the direction the company was headed.
That's exactly right. There have been several decisions we made over the prior few years that were all under the umbrella of a down market push. And so when we made the decision, several months back, that we're going to not do that, it was a major adjustment. And what it's done, and I guess this sort of transitions to, well, what does it look like now? What it's done is it's brought back the energy and the fire and the focus that created the marketing automation success that we had with Infusionsoft. But now it's being done in a product and a paradigm that's more intuitive, a little more user-friendly, just the things you do to, if you stop and think about it, if you've got a marketing automation solution you want to take downstream, you've got to make it easier and more intuitive. Well, now what we're doing is we're saying we're taking that easier and more intuitive, but we're refocusing on the segment of the market where we win. And that, I believe, is the right combination, and is, already helping us see that, those are the customers we win with. That's where we want to be in the market. We want to be in that, Salesforce is in the enterprise and HubSpot's in the mid-market, and Keap is the one for small business.
Well, and as you do that, and as you think about the future, what's going to define success in your future? Meaning, what are the key things now, the key decisions, key execution, things that you have to do that are going to determine what your next 3-year plan looks like, do you think, as you refocus?
Yeah, with small businesses in sales and marketing automation, it's always about the amount of time and effort that people need to invest in order to get returns. So, I love what's happening with AI. We jumped on that a year ago, and because we wanted to make it easier for customers to create content. Because as you know, content creation, as I kind of alluded to earlier in the conversation, that's a big thing that holds people back.
That was a big friction point, that if you don't know what to write and I don't know what to say, but here comes around ChatGPT, there's generative AI, there's ways to speed that up and maybe remove that friction point.
That's right. So we've built that into the product. We did an integration with OpenAI before ChatGPT had really hit the scene, but creating that generative content, that or generative AI to create content is a big movement, and there's going to be a lot that I think will make its way into sales and marketing automation, and I think that's going to be a great thing for small businesses. It already has been for our customers and partners who use it. And I think we're just getting started there. So that's really exciting. I think it fits under the broader theme of simplifying the path. You heard our mission. It's to simplify growth for small businesses. It's about making it easier and faster for them to get the benefits of automation. But we're also clear that we're not taking that to solopreneurs. Now there are some solopreneurs, kind of the top 10% of them, that have a pretty serious business. They just have chosen to be solopreneurs, and they can get a lot out of our solution. But it's the 90% of the 90%. 90% of small businesses are solopreneurs, and about 90% of those are in the very early stage of their business, and they're figuring a lot of stuff out. And they can get MailChimp or something else to go help them kind of get started with that stuff. We are very clear that we are serious automation for serious businesses, and we want to be that and maintain that position. And frankly, that was the position that Infusionsoft had in the small business market, and that's the position that Keap will have.
And interesting that the times are kind of matching this idea of, a lot of us, we all went through the pandemic, and you had people using business software like Zoom personally, and people kind of discovering that, maybe simple and easy to use isn't just a consumer thing. That would be good in a business thing. It sounds like your direction kind of matches the moment in that regard. And what if you were gonna, maybe final two questions. First one is, if you were gonna go back, and would you change anything you've done during this kind of this big decision time? And would you just would you just go back and just not make that decision? Or do you feel like you had to go through it? Would you have approached the solution any differently? Would you have sped things up? If just 2020 hindsight as CEO, would you have done anything differently over this journey?
Yeah, it's a really great question. There's always things that you wish you didn't have to go through, but here's the way I look at it. You made the comment about the simplification, the consumerization of IT, is kind of the broad term that people use. I don't think we could have taken what we built with Infusionsoft and simplified it and created what we're doing with Keap without going through what we went through. I'm grateful to those leaders we brought in, who, many of them were for Intuit. And although they had a different approach of what the product should be, they helped us to create a simpler paradigm. And, I don't think we would have I just don't think we would have figured that out without going through that experience. And so, you could say, well, gosh, there's a whole bundle of decisions we made about going down market that didn't pan out for us in the numbers and the growth of the business over that period of time. But what they did do is they taught us a bunch of things. They taught us a lot of things of what not to do, and they helped us create a paradigm and a user experience for our software that's dramatically easier than what it was when we had Infusionsoft. And I've learned a ton through the process. Our people have learned a ton through the process. So I have gratitude for what we went through, and I have humility that you've got to go through some of those hard things, and they're challenging, and some you don't really want them, but it's just it's part of the process. So no, I don't necessarily say like, oh, we should have done this, we should have done that. I don't know. All those things are helping us become who we're becoming. And I'm really excited about who Keap is and what our future is and the opportunity we have to help small businesses grow with sales and marketing automation.
And final question, how have you changed as a CEO from the early days of Infusionsoft and over this journey? And what is your advice for other CEOs, maybe, SaaS, software as a service companies, maybe not, going through some kind of similar journey that you've been on? How have you changed, and what is your advice for others?
Yeah, well, this is definitely another episode, but I'll give you the short version. I was much more sales oriented early on, and partnership oriented, and business development kind of started to evolve. I think I've become more product oriented and more customer success oriented, and also a little more financial oriented. I think that in the early stages, I was probably a little more, missionary on a cause, just on a mission, and that's super important. And I haven't lost that, but I think I've balanced it better with the financial imperatives of the business, and the reason why so many businesses go up market is because that's really the only way you can make those financial imperatives work at a certain point. And I was, I was stubborn in not wanting to do that. And so I would tell you that I'm a far more grateful and humble CEO than I was many years ago. And I think I've also come to a place of just recognizing that all progress starts with taking responsibility. And I think there were times where I wasn't taking responsibility at the level that I needed to. So gratitude, humility, responsibility, those are things I've learned. And I, hopefully an observer would say, yes, this version of Clate Mask is quite different from that one 10 years ago.
Sure. And those are all qualities. I mean, you describe probably a good CEO and just a good person and growth as a person. And I think one of the things I think maybe, and then I'll give you the final word, is that, you have to, if you're going to do this for a long time and you're going to build business for a long time, you've got to kind of embrace the growth, embrace the journey, embrace the change, and to get more than you have as a business, you have to become more than you are. And it sounds like, you've been on that path, and in many ways, the path of the company parallels the growth of the people who are driving it.
Yeah, very true. I say a similar thing all the time. I'm actually in the process of doing a pretty significant revised edition of my book, and I talk a little bit about this. And it's, there's just a growth that's required, and if you don't have that appetite, you're probably going to move from company to company relatively quickly, because to do the same thing for a long period of time, you have to be really committed to a level of personal growth and development and improvement. So, I put a lot of investment into coaching and reading and development, and just try to get better and better.
We've navigated the twists and turns of Keap's journey under the stewardship of CEO and co-founder Clate Mask.
It was a major adjustment. If you've got a marketing automation solution you want to take downstream, you've got to make it easier and more intuitive. Well, now what we're doing is we're refocusing on the segment of the market where we win.
The company faced significant challenges whilst expanding, grappling with customer churn and an increased demand for support.
Let's get really clear on who we serve, who wins with Keap, and who we don't serve.
Their solution, focusing on customers ready for an annual commitment. This tough but crucial decision ensured Keap's sustainability.
Well, what we need to do is be excited about creating amazing automation for serious businesses that want to grow sales and save time. If they're not to the point where they've got enough success going that they're scrambling to keep it all together, then they're not our customer.
Even when strategic shifts stirred internal changes, Mask stood firm, keeping the company's core mission and values in sight. Mask's experience underscore the importance of adaptability in leadership and and learning from past decisions.
I'm a far more grateful and humble CEO than I was many years ago. And I think I've also come to a place of recognizing that all progress starts with taking responsibility.
His evolution as a CEO is a testament to this belief, paving the way for sustainable growth in the SaaS world. And with that, it's case closed. This amazing episode was brought to you by Top Thought Leader. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.